We always wake up to events, to news, to issues, to problems, and to everything that we face as a nation. Now, this is Ghana Tonight, and I'd like to welcome you to another edition. Today is a Tuesday edition of Ghana Tonight. And what has been happening in Ghana? We are hearing that the United States of America is planning to set up a military base. Now, we are getting some kind of news from the U.S. Embassy that nothing of that sort is going to happen. And the defense minister is saying that there's going to be just training, and they're going to be stationed somewhere around the airport. There are 200 in number, and that is all what they have to do. Now, let me remind you that way back in 2004, 2006, 2011, 2013, 2016, and even 2017, we have been having these bilateral training sessions with the U.S. military. So why now would it come to the fore that they want to establish a military base in Ghana? So there is some sort of disagreement. Those in Parliament, Clement Apak is saying that there's something else, and he makes a reference to something that I find very disturbing, that it is possible that we're being hoodwinked or we are putting ourselves out there for a potential terror attack. Really, Dr. Clement Apak, I would disagree with you, because more serious things we did 2 years ago, and that didn't even put us in harm's way. But you're saying this one is going to put us in harm's way. We need to be very clear on information. Certain things are security tight, so we need not divulge all the information. But this evening, I would have an analyst here with me, a renowned one as such. His name is Iribat Ibrahim. We'll be talking about all what there is with regards to Ghana, U.S. military base, U.S. training, sighting around the airport and so on, and the kind of safety that the people need. We'll also be talking about 10 years of exploring oil in Ghana. Kwame Jantwa and Uche will be joining us, and also, I believe that you have heard already. So Unibank, back in the picture. This time around, the Bank of Ghana has instructed KPMG to start handling the affairs of Unibank. What does it mean? We have been told that if you save with Unibank, your monies are safe. Don't be scared. So many things are happening. Some people are asking that, is it that the finance minister is trying to get at Unibank for what they did initially? Because if somebody made a pledge to you and you came out to say that you have taken over the business, and that was not it, and people are saying that the finance minister is trying to set up a cabal so that he also gets a certain largesse when it comes to the finance sector of Ghana. Is that true or not? I hate, because it's a local bank, just as UT Bank, just as First Capital Plus Bank. So it looks like the local banks don't seem to be doing so good. We'll be speaking to some analysts along the line. Now, Ghana Tonight is proudly brought to you by Cool Water, the most refreshing mineral water on the Ghanaian market. If you don't have any in your homes, your offices, or wherever you find yourself, then please make sure you get Cool Water to refresh you every time. Now, Ideal Finance supports you with all the financial backing when you need to expand your business, set up a business, buy a car, rent a house, buy a house, do anything that you need some financial support. It definitely has to be Ideal Finance. And also, if you're a man and you want to look good and feel good and be proud of what you wear, it has to be Exclusive Choice Boutique, located opposite the Kaneshi Sports Complex. Now, they give you everything from cufflinks to shirts to blazers to jackets to suits to anything a man can wear to make him proud and feel good. If it's your man's birthday, make sure you go to Exclusive Choice Boutique to get them something beautiful. This evening, we'll be getting into a lot when it comes to Ghana Tonight. Welcome. My name is Patrice. I'll see you on the flip side. Ghana Tonight is what you're watching here on TV Africa. My name is Patrice Amegashi, and I have my guests lined up for this evening. And we'll be looking at so many matters that have come up. And first is to speak to a financial analyst. His name is Jerry Afolabi. Now, the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Ernest Addison, says the Bank of Ghana has taken over the management of Unibank. Depositors have actually been assured that their money is safe, and is stressing that the bank is not being liquidated, but rather it is being saved. Now, another release here says that in the exercise of its powers under sections 107 and 108 of the Banks and Specialized Deposit Taking Institutions Act, that is Act 216, the Bank of Ghana has effectively, that is today, 20th March 2018, appointed KPMG as official administrator for Unibank Ghana Limited. Now, Section 107 of Act 930 or 930 empowers the Bank of Ghana to appoint an official administrator to take official control of a bank when its capital adequacy ratio, that is CAR, has fallen below 50% of the required minimum of 10%. Under Section 108 of Act 930, the official administrator is authorized to exercise a variety of powers to rehabilitate and return the bank to regulatory compliance within a period of 6 months, at the end of which the bank will be returned to private ownership and management. So this part says that the official administrator is authorized to exercise a variety of powers to rehabilitate and return the bank to regulatory compliance within a period of 6 months, and at the end of which the bank will be returned to private ownership and management. So it is just possible, from what I have read right now, that Unibank could go back to its rightful owner. So as and when we get Jerry Afolabi on the line, we'll speak to him to find out what the nitty-gritties are with regards to this particular issue, because we noticed some time ago, a few weeks ago, that Unibank had actually announced that they are taking over ADB. It came out that there were other pledges that some stakeholders in ADB had made to Unibank, and that it wasn't sacrosanct that they had actually taken over the bank. So the governor of the Bank of Ghana came to speak. Finance minister had spoken to the matter. SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, came to speak to the matter. So everything looked as though the dust had settled. Unibank was going back to do its homework and come back. And then we are hearing today that Bank of Ghana says that you guys are working below capacity, so we will not allow you. So KPMG must take over. So as it stands now, KPMG has taken over the operations of Unibank. I'm also hearing that the MD of Unibank has been asked to step down. I don't know how true that one is. That as and when we confirm that, we'll say that to you. We'll be speaking to Charles Mensah also on the line to tell us more about these things. But then, Iribad, good evening.
Good evening.
And Kwame Jantua, good to see you.
Good evening, Patrice.
Welcome.
How are you?
So I'm fine, thank you. Very fine, thank you.
You're looking dapper.
Oh, thank you so very much. I'm grateful to Exclusive Choice.
Nice one.
I need to take you there to give you some shake-up.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Why not?
That's it. Just like Ibad. I did that to Ibad. Okay, so the Minister of Defense, Dominic Nitiwol, is saying that there is no agreement between Ghana and the United States of America to build a military base in Ghana. Ibad, let me ask you, why would we be propagating something that does not exist? Taking cognizance of the fact that Ghana and US have had bilateral military arrangements over a very long period. So why is it that anytime such an act or action is bound to take place, people just come up and spring out a surprise on us, hey, there's going to be a military base?
It's a bit premature. You can't tell whether it's a decoy, as both parties are in a state of denial. But matters of security are usually clandestine and classified. Ghana is quite big. And for all you know, Patrice, the structure you have, this wonderful edifice called TV3 and TV Africa, could qualify for a military base. So there could be a semblance of this elsewhere. Nobody knows. But where I think we need to connect the dots is when we have a parliamentary select committee that has oversight responsibility on defense and foreign affairs and all that, and we have such classified piece of information coming out with, you know, copies scanned and distributed on social media. So it puts you in a catch-22 situation. Do you listen to the official side, or you listen to the voice of reason on social media? But be that as it may, left to me alone to consolidate the bilateral ties between us and the United States of America, yes, of course, Mr. Jantua will talk about Pan-Africanism, the need for Africa to stamp out new colonialism and all that. But at the end of the day, even if we are a sovereign country, we are a third world country. Monkeys play by sizes. So therefore, as a unipolar world superpower, when the United States wants to pursue its geopolitical interests, sometimes you just have no option but to okay what it wants to do. So I sympathize with our presidents in the past 3 years when they've had to take very difficult foreign policy decisions.
Right.
Gitmo 2 in the case of His Excellency Dramani Mahama, and this one in the case of His Excellency Nana.
But must it be very difficult for them to take such decisions? So, for example, the Gitmo 2 matter, as it was coming up, the president was asked to speak to the opposition leader, which was Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, to talk to his people and so on and so forth. So, if it came back as feedback that we don't want it, the U.S. can't do anything because you are a sovereign state. Unless, of course, they are tying it to a certain trade partnership or some kind of relationship that we have. But I don't think they are going to instill that on us.
Ghana's relationship with the United States is supposed to be symbiotic.
Yes.
But because of the military might of the U.S. and its economic power, that relationship seems to be lopsided in its favor as against Ghana. And it's not new. When you look at the EPA agreement, the Economic Partnership Agreement that ECOWAS signed with EU, some felt it was lopsided. By the end of the day, it was ratified. So therefore, they say in the League of Nations, we are all equal, but some nations are more equal than others. You are here, all looking all dapper. If you had a call from somebody and he said, I'm the ambassador of Burundi to Ghana, I need to meet you as soon as possible. Well, you would think, Burundi, what has Burundi got to offer? I can wait till next week. Then you get a call. I'm the ambassador of the United States. I want to see you as early as possible. Maybe you will end this show.
I'll go there after 6 months.
After 6 months. Are you really sure? No, because you should be
treat
saying this
everybody
with tongue in cheek.
Exactly.
Look, a visa to Burundi is not like a visa to the United States. So
depends on what I'll be going to do there.
It's a country that has done good PR to project its image around the world. So therefore, it becomes very difficult for third world leaders like Nana Addo or Dramani Mahama to say no to the United States.
Let me bring Kwame in. Kwame, should we be alarmed by the fact that there's going to be some U.S. military presence in the country? People numbering only 200, and we are scared, and we are going to say that they're going to put up a military base. If they put up a military base, what is the problem?
Thank you, Patrice, but I don't understand why he feels I'm going to talk about
Pan-Africanism. because of the CPP link.
Through CPP, I have no qualms about that.
Yes,
sir.
But I must also say that times are changing.
Yeah.
Times are changing. For me, the first point of call is for we living in Africa.
Right.
What have we done to make sure that our security is strong? And yes, I do agree. We need to have partnership with other countries who have advanced types of military
might or power.
No, military intelligence for them to train us.
Yes.
But I believe that such a thing should be done in cooperation with ECOWAS. Because, excuse my English, when the S hits the fan, it spreads over all of us.
But you are not united as ECOWAS. You are not united. You are not united as African Union. So why would you want to do things in unison?
Let me finish. If Boko Haram decides to splinter their violence throughout West Africa, it affects all of us.
Absolutely.
And so, if it's going to affect all of us, we need the military might as Africans to combat them.
But there is a plan.
Let me tell you something.
There is a plan.
Let me tell you something. The whole thing pivots on trust. Do we trust the Americans enough? Do we trust the British enough? Do we trust the French enough?
Why don't we? Why wouldn't we?
We don't.
Who says we don't? Kwame, we allowed them to establish their embassies here in the country. We've allowed them space to do things. Kwame, we trust them enough. I believe so.
It's because they also haven't shown enough trust to us. Look, I'm not sure whether you've read parts and parcel of the agreement. I have heard snippets. I just got it this evening. I was just reading parts and parcel of it. How can you get an American soldier to come in and the only identification he needs is an ID card? Will they allow our military to come to their country to identify themselves by their ID card? There has to be. I don't take this thing about because they are military might or because they have money, so we should quote to them.
What if some sort of arrangement has gone on between our foreign affairs ministry and that of theirs?
You see,
and they know everything and names have been spelled out. They've checked everything and they know that these people are American citizens. No,
you know why? You know why? The security of this country lies on all of us. It doesn't only lie on the government that has
But we are all not that intelligent to understand what security intelligence means. We are all not intelligent.
My dear friend just spoke about social media.
Yes.
See what is on social media. See what people are saying. You need to take what the layman thinks about these things into a different sphere. They are part and parcel of the society. And so if you tell me that the government has signed up to go into some cooperation with America and they are going to build an oil, what do you call it?
It's a camp.
It's a camp.
It's a camp for
camp.
training.
And sometimes what happens at these camps?
it
Sometimes
is training.
Yes, okay.
It is training.
Fair enough.
Yes.
If it's training, I don't have a problem. But where the sovereignty of this country turns into something else.
But nobody is taking the sovereignty away from you.
I
think it is a media house I hear that is putting out the fact that it is going to be a military base.
Well,
even if it were a military base, is there anything wrong?
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. The only thing that I don't like is where they tell you that the president can't even enter that military base. True or false? You are the security guy.
Did you
read it?
To that?
From what I hear, that is part and parcel of the agreement.
That who is going to be at that camp?
If there's anything that goes wrong, the president even doesn't have the right.
I don't think so.
What? They said it's in the agreement. I'm still reading it. Maybe Ibad will be able to tell us better. I'm not a security analyst. I'm only Ghanaian, concerned about some of these things.
Look, I'm asking, is it so? Okay, so this is something coming from the U.S. Embassy. It says that the Embassy of the United States of America has denied reaching an agreement to establish a military base in Ghana. According to a statement issued by the embassy in Accra in response to a Joy FM report on the matter. So that means Joy FM is the one that reported this particular matter.
Yes.
The U.S. explained that the United States Embassy wishes to underscore that the United States has not requested nor does it plan to establish a military base or bases in Ghana. The current status of forces agreement, that is so far, between the United States of America and the Republic of Ghana is approximately 20 years old. It does not cover the current range and volume of bilateral exercises and assistance, the statement said. So that's it. This year, the United States of America is investing over $20 million in training and equipment for the Ghanaian armed forces.
You see, in diplomacy, there is what we call the principle of extraterritoriality. It surprises me when people take, bits and pieces of such a draft agreement and go to town with it, that they are going to be tax exempt and all that. And for the half a decade I served as an aide to ambassadors, when you import anything from another country into the resident country, the embassy is not, supposed to pay any taxes. And therefore, when you go on peacekeeping missions, you are accorded some of these privileges. And the swathe of territory, that is the diplomatic mission of a country, is seen as an extension of that country. So, of course, His Excellency Nana Addo can't just go banging on the gates of the U.S. Embassy and say he wants to enter because he's our president. Even if somebody committed murder and ran into an embassy, you have no right whatsoever to go in and grab the person. So that is this principle of extraterritoriality. So fundamentally, I think this has been blown out of proportion. And I believe that just as Mr. Janto has indicated, there's a lot of rapprochement between us and the United States. There are times we need them, there are times they need us. What I know is that the U.S. is trying to bring together intelligence, agencies within the sub-region.
Yeah.
Burkina Faso only got attacked. There are so many other capabilities for intelligence gathering that has been deployed within the West African sub-region.
Yeah.
So therefore, if there needs to be a physical presence to equip the armies within the sub-region to counter the threat of Boko Haram, and now the new kid on the block, Jenim, Jenim actually attacked Burkina Faso, then so be it. And I don't think it should be a problem for us to accept this.
But don't you think, Iba, that it has taken too long for us to be able to establish such a thing for ourselves?
To establish what, Kwame?
To establish the kind of security for ourselves.
In terms of ECOWAS or African Union?
In terms of ECOWAS, African Union, even our governments.
But we are not acting right. We are not reasoning right. We are not an intelligent people.
Who said?
That's it.
No.
But Kwame, for all these years, if we have not been able to come up with something, even we don't communicate and agreements, and we don't.
It's a question of priority.
Priority from who?
Well, from
look at Togo. Look at what is happening in Togo. Foreign Yasimbe says that I'm not leaving by the tenets of the fact that we need to go according to the constitution.
Yes, but that is gradual.
What have we said?
Look through Africa today. Yes. The types of Foreign Yasimbe is reducing in Africa.
Oh, really?
We are getting situations where governments are changing after their period. It's been a slow process. Uncomfortable, but it is starting.
Hasn't it been too slow?
But this is the point I'm making.
It has been too slow.
This is the point.
So for you to take a military action, joint action,
is the point. This is the point I'm making. That we don't seem to have a vision. We don't seem to have a foresight, and because we don't seem to have a vision and foresight, there are certain things we don't put in place now. The Americans have a vision, they have a foresight. They know what is going to happen.
So why don't you collaborate with somebody who has a vision and a foresight now?
I have nothing wrong with collaboration. Absolutely nothing wrong with collaboration. As I point a finger at you, 3 are pointed at me, meaning I have that responsibility to take care of my security. I cannot depend on America, Britain, Paris, France, all the time. There has to come a time where we take the responsibility.
I like this phrase, there has to come a time.
Yes.
The time is not now, because looking at the way we are acting and behaving,
the reason why,
what have we produced? What have we manufactured?
The reason why I say there has to come a time is
this
because...
small drone, we can't even produce it, we can't manufacture it.
But we've taken a satellite to space.
Oh, through where?
Well, Ghana did it.
We did it where? Not in Ghana. It was not done in Ghana, it was outside Ghana, it was launched outside Ghana.
Whatever the case is, not the launching, it's the idea of being able to do it. But the point I'm making is that 3 fingers are pointing at us. 1 finger is pointing at America. America will train you to do everything you need to do. What you need to do is to take that training into another realm. Have we been able to do it in Africa?
We can't.
No. It's not that we can't. Our priorities are wrong.
Yes.
It is our priorities.
So we can't do it.
And this is where it depends on the people. Why does it depend on the people? It's the people who vote.
So why would the media house just go out there to blow this thing?
Patrice.
Kwame.
Wait. It is the people who vote the governments into power. And because they don't understand what it takes to put a government in power, anybody who comes and stands up and says, hey, I vote for me, I can do X, Y, Z, we vote for them. We do not assess people who put themselves up for political positions. We don't assess it.
Well, that is another matter for us to discuss at another time.
But no, Patrice, it drills down to what we're talking about in terms of priorities. It drills down to it.
But the point is that for what you are talking about, we can't have that priority single-handedly as a state. We need to coerce every other person. We need to co-opt them into understanding what it means.
If I go back, you say, hey, he started again.
No,
if I go back now, you say I started again.
Kwame, go back.
When President Nkrumah started, that we need an African force. What did we say? What did we do? That he wants to be president of Africa.
But we need that.
But why didn't we do it then?
Because
it was part and parcel of the reason why they overthrew him.
Because those then didn't reason properly.
And we are not reasoning today, 2018.
Same.
Well, it's the people who vote them into power.
So we are waiting for the US to come. Iribad. So my point is that why would a media house go out to blow out something which has parliamentary memorandum by Honorable Minister for Defense on agreement between the government of the United States of America and the government of the Republic of Ghana on defense cooperation, the status of United States forces and access to and use of agreed facilities and areas in the Republic of Ghana, March 2018.
I think I will hold brief for my friends in the press. You know, I'm a friend to journalists.
I know,
but
but responsible journalists.
Exactly.
I think
you have to be friends to responsible journalists, because the bane of this country is something like at the behest of terrible journalism. Because the journalist is the one who mirrors anything that government does and what the people expect.
Yeah.
So if you are the one in the middle and this is how you report on a matter, I think it's quite frivolous.
This arena has become quite competitive. So people have an impetus to be the first to break a story.
Yeah. And
every media house has got its editorial policy, and that's its agenda setting. So therefore, I think it's a non-starter, Patrice. I think we should just, spare the media house any such criticism. But whether this snippet of information they got is right or wrong, it's a bit murky now. But I believe fundamentally, whatever the reason for putting this out, whatever the reason for Ghana and the United States to decide that we are going to consolidate our collaboration and coordination. Some have even said former President Kufuor was bold enough to reject this. But the dynamics...
To reject what?
To reject the idea. George Bush wanted a military base in Ghana.
Ah, okay.
In fact, Humvees had already been deployed into Ghana, but he kicked against it. But in the early 2000s, the security exigencies differed from what we have today.
Exactly.
So Ghana can't do it alone. When people are in downtown, where you are, and you think we are a sovereign country with our territorial integrity, even your coastline along Choco,
yes,
you have no control over it.
Exactly.
So it tells you that there is a deficiency.
We need a bigger brother to help us do this. Yes.
You see, Patrice, I think the mistake the radio station did was not to have read the intro to the agreement.
Yeah.
If they had read the intro to the agreement, it would have been a different discussion, a different conversation. Because the intro to the agreement indicates the past kind of relationship we've had with America, and that this was basically to strengthen that relationship.
That is it. It's been going on, like I said.
So
2001, 1st May 2003, 10th June 2003. There's one, 20th July 2011, 26th April 2016. There's 2017. It goes back 2005. So all the years we do this.
Yes, but the thing, we are specifically talking about the release of this particular agreement. And I'm saying that if that intro was used to start the program, to start the discussion, it would have been a different ballgame.
Good.
But what happened was that, as Ibad said, they took snippets of it and started blowing it out to make it look, because I heard it this morning and I was so mad and furious. But getting the actual agreement now, I asked myself...
That's going to set up, but even regardless of that, whether it's true or not, why would you be mad if they're going to set up a military base here?
No, the way it was being communicated, it looked
they're not going to take over. They're setting up a military base.
Well, you see...
and you benefit from it. Like you're saying, in case anything should go out of hand. They are here, you best depend on them.
Patrice, mine is that.
Yes.
You know, we've got to get to a point in this country where we can say we can do it.
What have you been able to manufacture a Tomahawk?
We were doing it before. Next time I come, I went to see my father. The old Akasanoma radio, I brought one. We were doing it in this country.
I know we're doing it. Look at what is sitting in front of 37 military hospital.
We had an atomic reactor.
We can't even build one.
We had an atomic reactor in this country. We can do it.
I mean, that is old glory.
No, it's not old glory. No.
The last one was 1980.
Patrice.
82.
Patrice.
1982.
Patrice.
1982.
Patrice, listen to me.
I mean, rely on past glories too much.
No. Let me say something to you. Don't let us disabuse the minds of the youth to make them think they can't do it. They can do it.
Okay.
If they put a little bit of effort, we can do it. It's not impossible. If others have been able to do it, why is Rwanda where Rwanda is today?
I need to pause here and take a call on the line. We're going to talk to Jerry Afolabi. Let's talk to Jerry Afolabi. But Ibad, thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate your time and the contributions that you make. Kwame, I'm going to keep you here because we're going to go talk about oil and gas.
Sure.
Okay. So the latest news is that the Bank of Ghana has instructed KPMG to take over the running of Unibank. So, Jerry, good evening. Thanks for joining us on online. Good evening, Jerry. Can you help me? Jerry, are you on the line? Can you hear what I'm saying? Jerry, good evening. Okay, looks like we're not able to make contact with Jerry Afolabi, who is a financial analyst. He wanted to look at this Unibank matter, the Bank of Ghana, KPMG, and whether or not, to get to a point where the bank will go back to Unibank. Is Jerry back on the line, please? All right, okay. So at this point in time, we take a break. This is Ghana Tonight, proudly brought to you by the best water, the most refreshing. That is cool mineral water by Ideal Finance and, of course, Exclusive Choice Boutique. This is Ghana Tonight. My name is Patrice, and we're still continuing. I have Kwame Janta, who's been joined by Uche. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I hope you're all fine. I hope everything is good. Especially
yes.
you, Uche. I was talking to Kwame already.
Yes.
The U.S. representative, the military matters.
You might not like my views, so
yeah,
let's get down to oil and gas.
I know. We're talking about oil and gas. So 10 years of oil and gas. What has been the achievement?
Yes.
So that's the question that people are asking. That is it worth it that we have oil and gas? When politicians speak and mount their platforms, they always say, the economy without oil and gas was this. The economy with oil and gas is that. But people don't seem to be seeing the benefits because they so claim that every benefit is offshore. But onshore, where the little players or the young players play, we don't seem to be making any inroads too. So what has been the state 10 years down the line?
Oh, okay. I guess that's, you've just said it. That's the question everybody's asking. You know, and we in the media, you know, we as the facilitators or private sector, let's say, because I'm talking on behalf of ABM, you know, we in the private sector, you know, all we can do is facilitate this kind of forum, you know, whereby the stakeholders, you know, will now sit down and do the assessment themselves, you know. And we, I mean, like the public being a part of it, you know, by being a part of it, they'll learn. They'll get to know what the issues are, whether there are challenges, you know, and what the prospects are.
Right.
You know. So we've just set the stage, you know, so that the stakeholders will now get together, you know, and take a look at it. How far have we come?
Yeah.
And how far can we go?
Kwame,
You know, so
9
that's
years
it.
ago, how far had we come? 8 years ago, how far had we come? 7 years ago, why do we need 10 years to say we're doing a review, or it is just another year in review?
I think 10 years is a good point to be able to review whatever you're doing. Between the time we started, 2010, first oil,
Right.
till date, we've made nearly $3.6 billion.
Only.
Now, please remember that the output we are getting from our fields is not 200 million barrels. It's 120,000 barrels max of Jubilee. And remember,
120,000 barrels.
yes.
That
and
is
remember,
nothing.
And remember that we were operating one field for quite a duration of time. Within that duration of time, so many things happened. Oil price dropped from 100 right down to 40. We had massive problems with our FPSO. Massive problems, which now affected our production. Oil price affected the revenue that was coming into the economy. Irrespective, we have been able to put a structure in place through the Revenue Management Act, which dictates how oil revenues should be used. However, the law indicates that in the absence of a long-term national development plan, the government, through the Minister of Energy, chooses 4 priority areas. It's only these 4 priority areas that you can invest oil revenues in.
What are these 4 priority areas?
The 4 priority areas from 2011 to 2016, which is a 3-year span, was agriculture modernization, road and other infrastructure,
Road and other infrastructure. Very funny.
amortization, and capacity building. It's supposed to run for a 3-year duration. Then you go into the next 3 years. Now, the sections where you choose these from is in the Revenue Management Act. There are 13 sections, 12 sections that the minister can choose from. Now, after these 4 sections elapsed, new areas have been chosen, priority areas have been chosen. The new priority areas, they've kept agriculture,
Yeah.
they have kept road, rail, and other critical infrastructure development. They have kept physical infrastructure, service delivery in education, and they have added physical infrastructure and service delivery in health. Now,
Is it a serious
let
thing?
me tell you where the challenge is.
Yeah.
The challenge is in road and other
Other.
infrastructure.
Yes.
That was in the first one. And in this second one, the challenge is road, rail, and
railway,
other critical infrastructure. Who decides what is critical?
Good.
Who decides what is? And we found, and remember I used to be vice chair of PIAC,
Of
we
PIAC, yeah.
found that because of these types of definitions, the money was spent in all the 13 areas in
Of
certain
course.
times of the year.
Of course.
And this was why, because we needed
was
to,
analogous.
we needed to indicate to our voters that
Who
we are
were the
being-
drafters of such an... who were the drafters? You see, sometimes these are the challenges that I have, Kwame. So it looks like we are not thinking. So some people are thinking for us, and we run along with them. So how can you draft a document that people need to act on, and then you say agric, road construction, and other? What do you mean by that?
You see,
And you agree to
the
it
the fact that
yes.
we took, and I'll use your word, an analogous way of getting oil production and, getting into the oil industry, it has also caused us challenges. It takes from exploration to production 6 to 10 years. We did it in 3. What happens with those 6 to 10 years is that you put your laws in place, you put your businesses, those who want to partake in it, they train, they make sure that the private sector, everybody wants to, they make sure they are ready for oil production. We started 3, and by the time we started exploration to production, started producing, within 3 years, we hadn't put anything in place. Like we had PNDC law 84 and 64, which really couldn't handle the oil industry. So what did we do? Government then realized that, money is going to come in. The IOCs had brought billions in. They were going to sell their oil. We went into some unification agreement with them because the Jubilee Field and Cosmos saw that it straddled. GMPC is a partner, so government was looking at how do we handle our revenue. So instead of putting the EMP in, the exploration and production bill in first, which is the Bible of the industry, we did revenue management.
Uche, then we don't seem to have any problems with going to sit down and assess.
And we were using PNDC law 8464, which wasn't helping. It wasn't helping us in any way. And over time, we have gradually now gotten the laws in place, but realize that when we now put the EMP in place in 2016, which was supposed to have come in 2010, there are certain aspects of local content, certain aspects of revenue management that we need to look at again. And you sit and you ask yourself, why do we create this for us? Look, when we started oil production, some of us said that if the laws aren't in place, leave it in the ground.
Right.
Because we foresaw these
exactly, because when it comes out, what is going to govern it? What is going to,
we foresaw some of these things. Leave it in the ground. We have done away without oil. Oil wasn't part of our economy.
Kwame, who have been the players in the field from the time we discovered till now? Who have been the players? I don't want to say it is the government of this or government. Who names?
When you talk about players, what you mean? You mean the companies?
Those who drafted all these acts, those who drafted all these things, who drafted them? Who accepted them?
It's the Ministry of Energy that puts this in place. That is their job. Then we set up the Petroleum Commission as a regulator, and we set up GMPC as a commercial arm.
So we are saying that all of these people are bereft of innovative ideas.
I think we put too much power in the minister's hands.
Because it looks quite idle for me looking at it as a layman or listening to you to say that all these acts were in place, and even governments, like you said, 2011, 2016, put in place what we have to use the revenues for, agri, road, and others.
It's the definitions. Definitions.
Exactly.
The definitions.
So we are being fleeced using these kinds of things.
I agree. I totally agree with you.
To be used for.
I totally agree with you.
So some people were fooling us.
I totally agree with you. And you see, we didn't really follow. So the districts, the MMDAs, they bring their budgets to Ministry of Finance. Ministry of Finance releases the money to them. We didn't follow.
To find out what those monies were going to be used for.
What the monies were used for. So you go down to the districts and you realize that the work, if it has even been done, has been haphazardly done.
Okay, please come in here, because I think yesterday also, Honorable George Lowe also made assertions to the effect that 60,000 a week or so, was it 60, every week, 60,000 went into the pockets of MMCs, DC, and all those people. Every week, they will say that we are going to do this function, we're going to donate to this funeral, we're going to construct this road, we're going to clean up here, and they take all that money, and nobody accounts for it. Uche, you are going to spend a lot of time sitting people down to assess 10 years of oil and gas. Meanwhile, just 2 things that Kwame has said this evening tells me that you don't need to go spend money assembling people, feeding people, wasting people's time to come and sit down and talk about what it is. This is the problem that we have.
While he was, speaking, you were interjecting.
I had to.
With exclamations and questions. So that tells us that, you see, what we've put together, it's long coming. So we needed a forum like this, you know, where stakeholders, because some people are investing.
We don't need stakeholders. Trust me.
No, people are investing.
We don't need them.
The private sector, they're investing.
They are not.
You know, no, of course, they put in a whole lot of money.
What are they investing into and what returns are they looking at getting?
Oh, well, it depends on the individual, you know, investor, you know. So they are looking at the environment. They are looking at policies. You know, there are a whole lot of issues. And so that's it. We said, listen, I'm a journalist. So most of these people, we meet them. We talk with them. So we know where it's paining them, you know, and where they are feeling okay.
Right.
You know, and then we also, we do the same with the government. So we realize, really, there's a need at this time, you know, for them to, you know, that's the stakeholders.
Trust you me.
To come together.
Whatever you're going to find out there at whatever forum it is, Uche, it is something that we all know already what to do, because the private person is investing to either make profit or profiteer. Now, whatever the role of government is in all these things is what we have seen as quite simplistic as what we have here. So my point sometimes is that you call this person, call that person, come and sit down to talk about what? To talk about what I already know.
Yeah, I mean,
isn't it going to be
painful?
painful?
If you know, that is, you are using your privileged position to know. It can be the same thing as for the other person. A whole lot of people don't know what you know. You know, and the oil issue is an issue that affects, you know, every person really in this country.
Okay.
You understand?
So let me ask this question.
Yes.
To what extent will the findings affect the role and participation of government? So, for example, you go out, everybody comes to talk, they say this, say that, say that. Then what?
Patrice, let me give you a typical example. There are two sectors of the oil industry. There's the offshore and there's the onshore.
Onshore, yeah.
Offshore, you need a lot of money.
Yeah, it was mentioned.
A lot of money. One
many millions,
FPSO is $1 billion. It's a very technical area, both offshore and onshore. However, onshore is much easier. People who are interested in just understanding what this whole thing is about, such a forum helps. So I give you a typical example of onshore that the ordinary man, if they want to get into it, can come to such an forum and learn from it. Onshore, you don't need an FPSO on onshore.
Nope.
You don't need the size of the sea for onshore. So far as you can pinpoint by doing seismics as to where the oil is on a particular piece of land, all you need is a pump jack or a donkey head, which takes a small space and a tank. A pump jack is $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. If, and this is the key, if Ghanaian companies can come together and work together, it is possible for a group of companies who come to such an event to say, onshore is coming. It is something that will be of interest to us. Let's start planning towards it.
When is this event that we're talking about? When is it?
It's tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, 8 o'clock.
8 in the morning?
Yes, at Labadi Beach.
Labadi Beach Hotel?
Yeah.
Is it open to everybody?
Well, of course, open to everybody. I mean, once you can get your, pay your entry fee, you know, yeah.
Labadi Beach Hotel, tomorrow, 8 in the morning. You get to meet Kwame Jantwa and Uche on the floor, and I sure must be there to tackle this issue and deal with anybody who comes there, who had a hand in drafting this kind of act.
They will be there.
They will be there.
All of them.
They'll be there. Doing what?
All of them
all
will be
the
there.
key players.
But you need to put them on their toes.
Yes.
You need to put them on their toes.
We are not putting them on their toes hard enough.
Well, we then
So
have
they're
to
taking
get
it for granted.
We expect you to be there.
I'll be there.
Asking this kind of questions.
I will
that you're
ask.
asking,
You know
get
already.
your answers.
Thank you, Kwame. Thank you, Uche.
Thank
I'm
you.
so grateful.
Thank you
So
very
tomorrow
much.
at 8 in the morning at Labadi Beach Hotel, we'll be there to check out 10 years of oil and gas in Ghana. This is Ghana Tonight, proudly brought to you by Cool Mineral Water, the most refreshing mineral water, and of course, Exclusive Choice Boutique, where you get the best to wear. Let me see if I can give out a certain magic number. Oh, the magic number is here. So 0244 585 293. 0244 293. It is a magic number. Call it. Okay? 0244-585-293. Thank you so much. My name is Patrice Amegashi. I'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.